I am by no means an expert on this, but last year I set up a rain collection system. I hate to call it a system. I bought a big thing to collect rainwater. It's underneath my deck. It's right here. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to eventually use it to see all this pipe on the ground here, this 1-inch PVC. I'm eventually going to put a few sprinklers outside here. First of all, this is not nearly enough. If you plan on using water for anything, you got to get at least a couple of these things. Okay, I thought this was going to be able to water the lawn in between rainfalls. I figured we get rain every 3-4 days. It's not. Okay, unless you have a very, very small lawn, not nearly enough. Okay, so that's number one. That's 275 gallons. Second thing, so what this is, it comes from one of my gutters. I have this socky thing over the top of it so that dirt doesn't go into there, but dirt gets in there anyway. Third thing that I didn't think of when I was doing it. So I got a pump over here. I don't know how many horsepower it is, and I don't think it's 230 volts. I think you can switch them to 110. So I switch it to 110. I put an outdoor cutoff over here. Probably unnecessarily, but I put an outdoor cutoff over there so I can pull it off, so I can turn it off if I needed to from outside here. I'll show you what I have set to run it. But basically coming out of here, there's a union, so I could take this off in the wintertime, dig a little trench, unscrew that after I drain it all. When you drain it, it's light, so I don't even have to dig a trench. I could kind of lift it up. The reason I did this over here, this is interesting. If you don't have another way for the water to escape, it can pull a siphon and suck it all out. So what I found is the first time I used this thing, I only used a little bit of water and all the water drained out. So what this is open. So some of the water, as the pump is going, pumps to the system. Some of the water sprays back into it's just a couple of feet of hose, sprays back in here. So that what happens is when this thing turns off, air gets sucked into the system, and air breaks the vacuum. So you don't have a suck back thing, if that makes sense. All right, so that's actually pretty important to have water flowing and have a break in an aquarium or a fish tank. I hear my dog. In a fish tank, all they do is they make like a little pinhole, and the pinhole sprays into the tank. You can't do that here. So this is my equivalent of making a pinhole. All right. So I'm going to show you this clip again because I forgot to mention that I poured a small concrete little slab into which I threaded a couple of bolts, 4 bolts, and I attached what's called a Red Lion 44 PSI 1.5 horsepower sprinkler pump. So that's what that pump is. You can see the bulge where the capacitor is. Also, I used a whip. That's about a 5-foot cord you'd use for an air conditioner to connect the pump, and it's waterproof, up to the electrical. So that's what you see on the left-hand side, that gray thing. It's just a typical air conditioning whip. I think it's maybe 6 or 7 feet. All right, so next thing, this is from the sprinkler company. So when I turn on the sprinklers, the sprinkler is set to turn on the pump also. You can set, and I guess all the sprinklers systems make that for an auxiliary pump. Going down the line, I have this 2-inch plumbing over here, or 1.5, I take it back. Goes into a filter over here. That's extremely important because the reason there was suck back the first time that I did this, or that it siphoned out, is because a little piece of dirt got stuck and the valve didn't close completely and all the water came out. So here, I need to rent a dumpster and get rid of this shit. Here is the other part of this monstrosity. That's just a zone valve with 3 different zones. One is hooked up right now. Very, very important that you have a filter before this, because if any dirt gets in there, the valve won't close properly and you'll get a lot of water leaking out. It'll be 3 zones over here. Right now it's just hooked up to 1, and I kind of plumbed it. So this goes into my house and it goes across that way, and I'll show you. So right now it's just going from this, whatever this is, 1 inch. It just goes to this right here. I use this to water the grass. I mean, like with a manual sprinkler. So right here is what it's connected to. Just a hose. It hasn't rained around here that much this summer, so I've been watering the grass with this stuff. And like I said, 20 minutes of watering, and I'm down to half of the thing. So I just have this controller. It's an X2 controller, whatever it is. This is, I just bought, I think I want to say 3 zones. It's inexpensive. See, it has a little thing that says pump. So mine is set to the pump is on all the time when you turn this on. So for me, I'm going to just water the lawn now. So I'm going to set it to, like, let's call it 20 minutes. This could run, because it runs back in there. And I'm not sure if it's bad for it or good for it, but all right, I'm going to leave it like 23 minutes, okay? Turn it back to run, and then you can hear it kick on. There it goes. So you can hear the pump going, and it's spraying. I'm not going to go into there again, but it's spraying back into there. So right now there's a lot of back pressure in the system because the pump is running, and the only water flowing is that small amount that's recirculating back into the container. So watch, if we go to the end of the hose now, I knew my dog was out here. I knew it. All right. So like I said, since it hasn't rained much, I feel like a lot of these bushes, like that one, are dying. And this one. So right there, I got a big old Japanese maple that we didn't put in, but somebody did, and I know that it would be expensive to replace. So here's the water coming from that spigot, and it works. So it's pretty high pressure, but that's it. So what I'm going to do is just water some of these plants, and that's actually a guarantee that it will rain today. If I use up all the water, it's a guarantee that it'll rain. But this is just so these things don't all die. And that's it. That's how I have this thing set up. And like I said, it works. This is better pressure. My house pressure is, I have a well, but my house pressure, I probably wouldn't do any of this if I didn't have a well. If I just had regular municipal water, I don't think I'd be catching this water from my gutters. But with the well, all the water goes through the water softener, every bit of it. So unless I feel like cutting the plumbing line and putting an outdoor spigot that has untreated water, quiet honey, that has untreated water, which I don't feel like doing, this is the only way to get water that doesn't have a lot of salt in it. And again, I'm no big horticulturalist, so if it gets a little salt, big deal. All right, just some spraying by the roots here, and that's basically it. Make sure all these bushes get. So that's it. That's my rainwater collection system.